Hey out there, this is March 7th, 2015. I'm in Northern California, specifically the Chico area in the Bidwell Park. It's a vast, enormous park, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, you're just seeing tiny fraction right now, and you can see how big this field is from where I am to where those cars are. Is probably over a mile, I would guess. So it's just a big open field. People like to come and do everything from hike to ride their bikes to walking their dogs. So looking up in the sky, it's not too bad today. The idiots were at it a little yesterday, and there's a general haze going on out here. And let's see, there's remnants of chemtrailing up in the sky here. These people are relentless. They sicken me. And over in the distance, we got a small herd of cows. Where are they? Over this way. They're up on the hillside. Right there. You know, life's hard, just being a human being. You know, we're what I would term God animals, and that, you know, we've got the flesh nature, we've got the body to think about. Though we are not our bodies, we have this body we must take care of. And there's certain requirements that we have. We need very few that are essential human needs: food, shelter, and water. And beyond that, you could really even consider things like clothing optional, because if you've got shelter, that's the most important prerequisite to staying warm, is that you just have, you know, roof over your head, so to speak, and, you know, walls around you. Hopefully it's just a standard shelter, something that a bear might like going in a cave. You know, it's got a roof and it's got walls, so it's a very natural thing to seek, is a shelter for survival. And I think we've lost touch with that idea, you know, and it really bugs me to see how people, largely, not everybody, you know, we've been turned into these drooling, fear-driven, money-grubbing, programmable automaton idiots, for the most part. And again, not everybody. There's people that are awake, but there's far too many people that are still asleep, and we still have, I believe, a critical mass that are largely asleep. Now, there's great hope for people to start waking up in droves, because when I look at people being opposed to the great banking takeover of '08, you know, and I think, wow, that's fantastic. Over 90% of the people were opposed to this. How could that be? But, you know, it still got rammed through by the elitists, the hypocrites, the politicians, the sycophant politicians that are basically working for the money printing class. And, you know, that's a situation we have. Nevertheless, it says a lot for hope. I think a lot of those people were just intuitively, instinctively opposed to it, because they knew that we had been raped, financially raped by the money printing class. A lot of people associate it with the banks, but it really wasn't the banks, because, you know, it should be understood that your local bank will get away with whatever they can, whatever is legal, you know, in terms of not getting them thrown in jail. The regulations, or lack thereof, is more the situation with Clinton getting rid of the Glass-Steagall Act. So it was a lack of regulations. And then believing their masters, trusting their masters, that if they do overextend themselves, like they're being coerced to do, coached to do, prompted, encouraged to do, is to dump more currency on the market than the market could handle, the housing mortgage market, And you know, they knew they would blow the pipes out, and they knew there'd be this huge number of foreclosures happening. It'd be a great boon for people in the property management industry, a great boon for landlords. And so they encourage this. And then, of course, the way the banks benefit is because they put this massive debt on the people at large, and they can't lose. They're insured by the people, the same people that they stole their houses. They are the ones that they are charging, you know, taxes through, if nothing else, just the cost of living, because the cost of living is the most pernicious tax we have. A lot of people don't realize that. They don't think about it. They don't think about it in terms of housing costs, and how there is a lot of areas in the country where if you're on a minimum wage job, you've got to be paying more than 100% of your income just for a studio apartment. So people have to cheat. They force people to cheat to survive. They turn everybody into a monster. That's what I mean, is what's happening here. That we need the money. We need it. We're scared. That's what they want us fearful. This is their way, these elitists at the top, the hypocrites at the top, these Satanists at the top, of extracting their pound of flesh, of extracting their perverted form of reverence over the people. Okay, because you see, without the fear that they induce, they would never be able to get away with the things they get away with. People would say, hey, you know what? The government will step in and help me if I'm poor, and they'll supply housing for me if I can't afford my own. But that's just a farce. That's not true. That's not the case. Because what you've got is more and more people fall through those social welfare cracks. That's just a pretense. That's just a beard. It's a charade, because the fact is that the government has ushered in the poverty through allowing the financial rape of the people. But I don't want to get off too much into this. I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. But it makes it so I can enjoy my own prosperity. And most people, the vast majority of people, even a lot of poor people, would look at my personal finances and they would laugh at that statement. They'd say, prosperous? What are you talking about? And I'd say, well, it depends on how you define, how you measure prosperity. I am not a homeowner, so in that sense I'm dirt poor, but I have a sense of security. I have a sense of freedom where I am. And that's a good feeling. I feel very lucky. I have a warm, dry bed I can sleep in that I'm pretty certain I'm going to have tomorrow, too, if I'm still alive. And that's a beautiful thing. So, you know, people can be happy with very little, and myself included. And, that should be understood, that prosperity in one man's mind is not in another's. I don't need to be rich in terms of having a lot of dollars and assets or whatever, but I'm rich in the sense that I feel that sense of security. I feel at peace. I already know that God has given me as a birthright my share on this planet, so I feel personally unthinkably wealthy. I know it's being withheld from me, but what hurts more is that it's being withheld from my brothers and sisters that aren't as lucky as me, because that's all I see it. I'm no more or less worthy to sleep out in the cold than anybody else. That's the way I see it. That's the way I want to see it. I want to be somebody. I want to be true to myself. And that's the person I'm trying to be. So that's what I mean. I can't enjoy my own prosperity while I've got brothers and sisters that in the sight of God are probably, God knows, I mean, these might be saints. These could be angelic beings. I don't know who they are. It's not my place to judge them. It's my place to be their friend, to be a brother, to be a sister, to do like Jesus said. You know, what you do or do not do for others, you do or don't do for me. We should look at each other like a fellow human being. That's all. Like a brother, a sister, another little God, okay? Because that's what we are in the sight of God. We are precious treasure to Him. And we've got to lift each other up, exalt one another, and help each other understand just how badly we've been taken by these money-loving monsters at the top. They're nothing but a gaggle of murderous thugs. And we've got to stand up to these people. We've got to say, no, 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 no. We're tired of you raping us up one side and down the other financially. We know what you're doing. We know you create the poverty. We know the government comes in and pretends to care about the poor people by setting up these social welfare problems that just exacerbate the problem. People complain about people on this welfare for housing You know, when they've just driven up the price, it's a tax. That's what driven up the cost of the housing tax. Everybody's housing prices are through the roof. And the government, it's already communistic. They already own all the property. If you just see how long you get to keep your house if you don't pay your property taxes, folks. So you want to know who really owns it? Forget about it. Once you're done with the bank, you could at least be done. But the government owns it in perpetuity. And if you're paying $1 million for a house in San Francisco, you're going to be paying, even at one point, it's a tiny bit over 1%. I just looked it up recently. That's still over $10,000 a year forever. And I've never heard of property taxes going down. Occasionally you might hear of certain income taxes going down here and there, I suppose. But you see, my point should be clear, is that I'm tired. You know, like I said, I started this video saying life is hard enough. Just being human, folks, is hard. It's hard. We've got this animal nature we've got to contend with. We've got to take care of our body. Though it's not us, it's a vehicle that we appreciate, we enjoy. And if we want to keep it, we got to take care of it. We can't walk around all stressed out about everything all the time. And these people have us stressed out up one side and down the other. I mean, you can see it in the way people drive, okay? The next time you're on the road, pay attention to people. Here's one of my greatest pet peeves is people, especially in high-profile vehicles, but any vehicles, when you're supposed to stay 5 feet back from a pedestrian crosswalk. It's called a limit line. Okay, everybody learned this. You know, the first term of driver education, okay? You learn about things like a limit line, and there's a reason. You don't want to create a visual barrier for people trying to make a right turn. It's dangerous for pedestrians. It's dangerous all the way around. It just causes more stress. So I see these people, it's if, wow, you're going to get through the light so much faster because you're right up on it, blocking my view, and I want to make a right turn. I mean, I see even bus drivers do this. Here, these guys are trained for public safety and supposed to really be good drivers. But just notice that the next time you're driving around. Okay, and another one is bike riders. They're supposed to have the same rules as the cars. And these guys, driving down the wrong side of the street, what's going on in their head? They think they're going to get in a car wreck, probably intentionally, because a lot of people are out there insurance seeking. They don't mind getting hurt a little. Most of them don't want to get killed, but who knows? Some of them might be trying to commit suicide. But they go out there and they're driving against the flow of traffic. Who expects bicycles can come up on you pretty quick? I mean, 15, 20 miles an hour, that's a lot of bikes travel that fast. So if you got a bicyclist you don't expect coming, that's a dangerous situation. So, those are a couple of my pet peeves. Maybe sometime I'll make a whole video on, the way people drive and seeing, how there's something wrong with them. So many of them, if you pull them over, are you in a hurry? They would say no. I mean, look, I'm not always driving slow out there. Sometimes I enjoy, driving with the flow of traffic and all that. But I'm a safe driver. I really do. Under the basic speed law, at least in California, probably all around the country, that's the key, is that sometimes it's not even safe to do the speed limit. I've seen this on Highway 17 in the Santa Cruz Mountains between Santa Cruz and Los Gatos. In the 70s, every week there was these horrible head-on wrecks. There was not even a barrier down the road. Okay, so, and these people are high speed going around these turns, 50, 60 miles an hour, when, these turns these are like 35-mile-an-hour turns, especially with no barrier there. I mean, it's just totally unsafe. So they had these horrific accidents. So there's been progress in highway safety, and I'm all for that. I'd like to see a lot more. I'd like us to take some of that chunk that's being spent on the military, that's just making us more unsafe. They're causing trouble all over the world. Not all the military, but I mean, dubious warfare is what it is, okay? We're creating hatred. We're stirring up hornets' nests all over the place, and I'm not for that. I'm not for creating hatred that's causing guys like these radical ISIS to just loathe, if you're Christian or American, you're worthy of getting your head cut off. You're an infidel. I don't want to kind of stir up that kind of hatred. I want to try to make friends with everybody I can. But I understand there's a time when you've got to kick ass, Sometimes I think, you look at Z and Blackwater. Maybe what the constitutionalists of America need is something like that, okay? Whether you're actually armed with real bullets or not, that's nobody's business but your own. But, as a defensive measure, it'd be good to get more and more in the face of the people running roughshod over us, okay? And I know I digress onto a lot of things, but about the driving, just to sum that up, is that you can see that people, there's something wrong with people when they're all, it's like, you're going to get somewhere a minute faster by being stressed out, you know, and maybe you won't even. Maybe you'll stop and get a ticket and then you'll be way behind. Then you'll be even more stressed out, you know. You're going to get the ticket you got to pay for, and you lost time, you were late for your appointment or whatever it is, your TV show. But, you know, these people have just screwed with our heads, man. And we got to understand how profoundly they've done that, okay? We've all got to just step back from the scene, man. And, you know, anytime you want to get into economic discussions, and it always comes back to economics, and the reason is clear, folks, because this is how they're getting away